And we're literally seeing an epidemic of these issues in the United States right now.
Dr. Robert Melillo is the co-founder of Brain Balance Centers.
1 out of every 10 children in the United States now is diagnosed with ADHD, and that's a real increase.
My name is Dr. Robert Melillo. My life's mission is to help kids and families with special needs. My wife, Carolyn, makes it all possible. Welcome to our family.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our show. I'm Dr. Robert Melillo, and this is my beautiful wife, Carolyn. Let's start the show by talking about what's in the headlines. And again, there's 2 really neat articles, especially this week. One actually talks about that older fathers are much more likely to have a child with ADHD, autism, or schizophrenia or psychosis.
Which is surprising because you think once a woman gets pregnant, basically, you know, it's the woman's job to carry the child for 9 months, and pretty much you just have a genetic transfer from the father. But you're saying that it's not genetic, it's environmental from the father.
One of the things that this tells us is that there are environmental factors. There's all these risk factors. These are the things I went through in my most recent book. But this actually showed what was really neat is that fathers who are over 46 compared to fathers that were 24, they actually had a 300% increased risk of having a child with autism,
wow,
a 1,300% increased risk of having a child with ADHD, and a 2,400% increased risk of having a child with some sort of psychosis or schizophrenia.
Interesting, but I know that there's an age, your actual age, and then there's an age that...
Right, the real age.
The real age.
So yeah, so that's the important thing is that we, you know, it doesn't mean that older fathers shouldn't have kids, but it has to do with health, right? So the other article that's really neat is that girls have more resilient brains. And that's why when we look at autism, 4 out of 5 children with autism are boys. And we know that there's 5 times more boys than girls with ADHD. And now this study showed scientific evidence that girls' brains are more resilient from ADHD and autism.
But why is that? Is it because the boy's brain starts out as a girl's brain? I know I heard something about that. Can you explain that?
Yeah, well actually, one of the reasons why we think it is because in the womb, when the right brain is developing, what we see is that what most people don't know, and you probably know this, but that the basic platform of the brain and the body starts out as a female. Right. We all start out as girls, even if we have an X or Y chromosome. But a male brain and body has to be turned into a male, and that's by the hormones the mother produces. And if there's an imbalance in estrogen or testosterone, that can cause a problem. And actually, increased stress in the environment actually causes women to have more testosterone.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Yes. We have a really neat video that we showed here, and this is a perfect example of how certain children with disabilities have this unevenness of skills. So we're going to look at this, this video of this young boy from Kenya. See, the thing about this that's interesting is that this boy does not speak.
Right.
He has no words, but he can sing and sings pretty beautifully, right? So that's what we see is this unevenness of skills. And so what we see is that speaking is one side of the brain and singing is the other side of the brain. So we see that all these children have these imbalances between the right and left side of the brain. And that's why working on the weak side actually creates the balance that can, you know, make things better.
Wow. Okay, let's go to a Twitter to Dr. Rob. We have from L. Schumann 73. Do you recommend therapy for the families too? We have very different needs as families who deal without support of our needs too. What do you think about that?
Absolutely true. That's one of the reasons why we have this show is to speak to the special needs community. But yes, we do recommend that people do therapy, but sometimes it's hard for them to do a lot of these therapies together. So that's why I wrote the book Reconnected Kids.
Right.
Because Reconnected Kids is really a family program. It's a family empowerment program, and it actually is something that they can use, and I think they'll find very helpful. So when we come back, we're going to sit down with Dr. David Shapiro from local Brain Balance Center, who discusses the issues of the epidemic of autism and you know, why that may be happening. So we're going to be back here at the break, and we'll see you soon.